World Health Organization team, which arrived in Wuhan to investigate the origins of the coronavirus, is expected to begin fieldwork this week after a 14-day quarantine. China correspondent Bill Birtles joins me now in the studio. Bill, you've been talking to members of the team now in Wuhan. They've been working while in quarantine. What have they been able to achieve so far?
Well, the Australian member, the one Australian member, Dominic Dwyer from Sydney, said that they've actually been pretty productive. He said that, yes, they've been limited to doing Zoom meetings, but these meetings have apparently taken place for about 10 to 12 hours each day while they've been in hotel quarantine. He said in those meetings there has been the presentation of what he described as some new information, useful information, but he did also say that there is clearly a diplomatic and scientific dance continuing about access to data directly. He said that's being negotiated and worked out, but a pretty strong hint that at least one member, the Australian member of the WHO team, thinks that they're not getting the full picture so far.
How long is their investigation likely to take, and do they feel confident they'll be able to get to the answer they're seeking?
Well, another member, a Dutch member of the WHO experts team, was interviewed by a different media outlet. She said this investigation could take years to get any substantial answers. So that was a timeline that she'd put on it. And previously, when we spoke to Professor Dwyer and also other members of the team from the WHO, they were very careful to talk down the expectations. In fact, the WHO official spokeswoman at the outset of all this, she said, by the end of this Wuhan trip, what we should have are better questions. Not answers, but we should know what sort of questions we should be asking.
If the team itself feels as though they're not receiving full cooperation from Chinese authorities on the ground, who will they be taking that up with? Is it something that the World Health Organization is going to try to resolve, or will the individual team members' countries intervene?
Well, the view, for example, of Professor Dwyer is that the WHO has political and diplomatic pressure that it can try and bring to bear on the Chinese government if the scientists feel that they're not getting the full picture, they're not getting full access to, say, the early samples that were taken in hospitals in Wuhan, that sort of thing. So he is saying, yes, it's early days. Yes, there obviously is a lot of diplomacy involved in all this, but his hope is that it is still a worthwhile pursuit because the WHO does have that sort of diplomatic pressure. And at this point, it is incredibly early days. They've all been saying that it will be a long process. I suppose we now have a period for a couple of weeks where they're out of their hotel, they're allowed to actually go to those hospitals and the wet market and all those places linked to the early cases. We should get a better idea over the next week or so about how free their access is to, say, the doctors who treated those early patients.
And just finally, Bill, can you give us an update on the coronavirus outbreak itself in China?
Yeah, so the cases, new daily cases have been falling over the past couple of days. It's still between 100 and 200 across China, primarily in two different areas. Relatively speaking, that's not too bad given the overall population, but of course, Chinese New Year is coming up very soon, and apparently flight bookings are down by about 73% on normal years. So people are deciding to stay home.
Okay, China correspondent Bill Birtles, thank you.